Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, gamers from around Yukos, it's me. It's today. I've got notes. I have got notes again today. Here's what we're going to talk about. We're going to be talking about the Emporium Gauntlet, which is every Saturday on Twitch. It's me or somebody else that I can find to do it. We'll be slinging cards from the Emporium. And the Emporium right now, it's so the set at the Emporium right now is called the Revival set, and I love the name for it because it's exactly that. It's reviving a lot of the best parts of this game. It's by and large, I feel like that's where you find tools to really extend games and stay in the fight longer than you would with running cards not from the Revival set. And it's just cool because it's so. Let's go back in time. We'll go back in time. Little GU history. The game has been through a lot of eras. Different guys steering the ship into different waters, into different seas, but one thing that has always kind of remained kind of steady throughout all of it is the game's willingness to experiment with technology, experiment with business models, and experiment with design philosophies and how they approach balancing. Everything has always been kind of like a live experiment, and I've always really liked it. You know, some of the best ideas were one and done, never to be seen again, and then some of the worst ideas they have stuck with and gone too far with it. And then so I always kind of talk about it on stream of like all the cool stuff that they've done, wanting it to come back, and then kind of say my opinions on a guy that just loves to play cards, is the things that I've seen work and things that I have seen not work. But yeah, back to the Revival set. So the Revival set, again, it was Gods Unchained's first experiment with slow dripping a set into the ecosystem. Instead of like a giant set dump, and then it's like, hey, good luck, and then we have this long extended balance phase where I've said it before, I'll say it again, the balance phase is my least favorite time in this game. Everybody just gets so toxic and argumentative, and like when I get on stream and I have any of the cards that are in the balance phase, every time I play it, the chat just explodes with their opinions. And so it's nice to have something kind of roll out in a different way, because man, I've never played a Revival card and have those conversations. The conversations are always a lot different on Saturdays. Because the Revival set as of right now in the game doesn't really have a home. You know, it's not like any of the other stuff. You know, there's no format that really kind of features it or anything, and that's one of the things when I was setting up the league. One of the things I said is, you guys, we've got to be Revival friendly. I want to see these cards in the league, and so we try to. And the Saturdays that's been fantastic for that and for everything else. It's an opportunity to like live play cards in a way that's not going to hurt your rank. And then on top of it, the game gave us a card to raffle off every Saturday, and we've done a bunch of different things since doing this, because you know, I've never had the opportunity to do it, and so we're kind of learning. And so the first kind of rollout was like, yo, everybody has to have this card, let's play it. And then that guys kind of got burnt on that, you know, feeling the need to be spending money every single Saturday to play, with Saturdays, by and large, outside of this, have always just been a fun, relaxing, experimental kind of day, community night, and so the guys thought we were just getting too far away. So we've changed it. So right now the rules are, you come play any single deck that you want, as long as it stays within the rules, because we'll come up with a new format or custom format, custom rules every single Saturday, and you can But we always I try to feature the card of the week. So I'm always bringing decks that I think it works within those rules. And then the good thing is guys that are not interested in the card, that are sleeping on it, they can bring whatever meta deck that they want and challenge me. And so I have the opportunity to kind of really showcase if this card can compete against the meta deck. And then what happens is what the rule is if you want a chance to get on the wheel, the raffle wheel, to see who wins the card, you got to table that card. If I see you table the card, I'll put you on the wheel. And then, but the score still counts. So it's me versus chat. Whoever has the most points at the end of the night. If chat wins, I raffle up the card for those that are on the wheel. But if I win, it goes into a pool and we raffle it off later in a bigger event. So that's kind of what we got going on the Saturday. So if you're interested, come on by. It's fantastic. Just by queuing, just by tabling the card, you get a chance to win it. And it's been a lot of fun. It's been a lot of fun. And so what happens is I've seen all these cards get played. I've seen the progression. I've now seen which cards kind of show up regularly on Saturdays, the combo cards that are comboing. And so I thought it put me in a pretty interesting dynamic of being able to talk about cards with a little more depth to them. And so I created categories too when we talk about cards. So I'm going to go through the entire set throughout this new series, and talk about the revival set and how it does. So yeah, anyways, back to it. So yeah, we got the weekly drip. It's a storefront, so it's the first time. It's not like a lottery to get a card, and then if you see a card that you like, you can buy it at any rarity that you want. Like if you think this card's gonna really perform for you on ranked, and yeah, guys are buying diamonds of it. And then and I'm no different. The cards that I think are long-term high value cards that are not threatened from being nerfed, I go with the expensive one. And then yeah, and then so you see this slow drip of innovation throughout the cards as well, which has been kind of cool. The downsides, let's talk about the downsides, because there's upsides, downsides to kind of everything. So the cool stuff is the weekly excitements. We get a new card every single week, and I always like coming on there doing it. And then Saturdays are always, we got a new fresh something to play with on Saturdays, which is fantastic. The weaknesses. So weaknesses I wrote, it could create, at a certain point, it'll be FOMO fatigue. And we kind of already saw that with the Saturday guys. They didn't want to buy the card every single week. They weren't buying the FOMO. They were not buying the FOMO. So I wrote that down. The other one that I wrote down is the consistent, that not every single card in the revival set should power creep. That like if that is how they're approaching that card, then that's just an unhealthy power creep. And then the other one that I wrote down, and I think this is a pretty good point, is the cards in the storefront at the Imporium, they're only available for 1 week, and then they're not. And so the only cards that will ever be minted from that are from guys that buy it that week. And why I think that's kind of a weakness of the design is that it just makes it harder to onboard players later. Like if guys want to come in the future and play a Slayer War deck, they're going to need the rediscovered power. They're going to need the rune axe. They're only going to be able to get those cards from the secondary market at a marked up price. So that's the one weakness I saw of the entire thing. But anyways, but it is what it is. So when talking about the cards, I made categories. I invented these categories. First category, I'm calling it evergreen. Green for short. The green cards I define as they're healthy. long lasting, you know, the cards that reward deck building, that just feel like real TCG cards. Those are the ones that I put in the green category that are just, they're phenomenal cards and will probably be around for a while or always have some sort of utility, no matter what. The second category I wrote is just healthy cards. You know, it's similar to the green category, but they're cards that are specifically just good for the ecosystem health. You know, like the cards that I would put into that aren't in the evergreen section is cards like the green gobbler and the prickly elemental. They're cards in the wild nature deck that are just they fit such a good gap that in the natures, because natures have for a very long time they've been really soft at the 3 and 4 mana curves, and then the revival set like plugged those really well. So I made a category for those. Then the other one is the future problems. You know, these are cards that I kind of just think are more dangerous as the pool of cards expands. You know, cards like Squeak and the Big Ugly Boss. I love them. I love delving, but that's not to say that I don't think that they could be a problem in the future. And then I put cards of a sleeper card. You know, these are cards that I think are underestimated at first. You know, like a great example is the Proselytize for light, that 1 mana spell that steals favor. When that card first came in the Imporium, we all looked at it and we're like, what the hell is this? Like, what? Light is stealing favor now? Like, why? Why does Light want to steal favor? Who cares? There's formats without a Sanctum. Sanctum's kind of soft right now. Like, why? Why? And then what happened is the Roots of Ruin set dropped, and then it came pretty crystal clear, like, oh, favor is going to be very important to Light going forward. And so that was one that, like, man, I think a lot of people missed. And then now they're scrambling. They will be, if they're not, they will be scrambling to get this card on the secondary markets because of how important favor is going to be. So yeah, I put that section, and then I put cards that are just dead on arrival. You know, there's always a card that'll hit and it just has absolutely no support, and it's got like a confused identity. You know, cards like the Soil Tiller, like it's a 7 mana big body dragon, text for days, don't really know what it does, don't really see it, what the hell is it doing. It's dead. To me, that's a card that's dead on arrival until I'm proven different. It's sitting in that category. I bought it, I've tried to jam it into every single format in this game, and I cannot make it work. It'll have like, oh man, anyway, so there is a section here called freaking dead on arrival, and sometimes we're gonna have to put cards in that category. And then I put toxic, you know, and I define toxic cards as cards that reduce meaningful gameplay. In this set right now, the first card that kind of comes to mind is the Atlantean scaling package. I think I categorize that as toxic. That's not something that should exist in Atlanteans. They're way too powerful. They're way too good. They bring way too much tempo to also have crazy stats. With afterlives with really good stats. So yeah, there's that. And then the last one, the last category, and this will be exclusive to just our conversations, is the league ban. So I run a league. If people don't know, if you pull up the launcher, it says the league direct, and there's me and a few guys. We're in charge of that pool of cards, and there's always cards that don't make it into that pool. And so I put a category for that of will this card be in the league? Yes, no, and then why yes, why no. You know, like because there's always cards that they drop and guys get really excited because they're so good in the Eternal ranked format. but then they're very destructive in smaller curated formats. And I want to start differentiating that and have that conversation around the differences be out there. Like for me, the a good example again is the rune axe. So it's got God Blitz on the text, and God Blitz is super destructive in our format. I think we took out every single God Blitz from the game, with a few exceptions. The exceptions being Avatar of War, because it's an 8 mana card. The Rune Axe is 7 mana that you can actually shrink to being 6 or 5 mana. And then if you meet the setup required for the card, it can have 3 durability, so it can push 21 damage to face just by itself. And we've taken out all the cards that move the hit points up and down from the god, so you have 30 hit points, and if this thing's doing 21 by itself, in for a god that can push as much tempo, like they have the most amount of blitz in the game, and I want to say like the second most protected. They can stick a board and then just have this crazy burst at 7. So yeah, that'd be a card that I would just be like, yo, it's phenomenal in the league format. The Slayer archetype I think is developing and has me excited because it's so good, and it just goes back to the days I'd like to see Slayer be back. Because man, it's pretty good. It's pretty good. It's fun. It's fun. It's a fun deck. But it doesn't work in our format for what we're trying to do in the league format. But yeah, so that's it. That's gonna be the series going forward, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. We're gonna put the revival set under the microscope. We're gonna be talking about it. We'll talk about it, and then as it develops, as we play, things that I see on Saturdays, and just always be encouraging guys to come out on Saturdays and play. Yo, there's a card you want, come get it. We'll shine you up. We can shine you up. All right, guys, take care, have fun, and we'll see you when we see you.